Hello and welcome once again. This topic is one I really like because I love sports. And this one is, how does sports help teens to get rid of stress? So we'll be talking about that in this video. When we want to talk about sports and its ability to help teens deal with stress, exercise, movement, the science behind that, we'll have a conversation about that. The structure that it provides teens, the emotional outlet that exercise and competition can actually give teenagers, as well as the sense of belonging as you belong to a team, and of course any sort of mindset training that comes along with that development of athletic skill and competition. All of those things we'll be talking about in this video. There's so much research and data about exercise and stress. It literally, when you exercise and are moving, it literally changes the biochemistry and how you deal with stress, right? So that is like, there's mountains of evidence. So when you are engaged in athletics, you are moving, you are working out, you are practicing, you are running, you're jumping, you're throwing, you're hitting balls, you're doing all these things on a regular basis every day, because there's almost, if not a game, there's a practice. So another reason as a coach, and why I hear from many college coaches even, why they encourage multiple sports being played through high school, is each sport has different movement tendencies and practices, and all of those are good on many levels, from a biological biochemistry makeup to working different muscle groups and strength and conditioning and athleticism, and all these things that can have long-term benefits physically and mentally, as well as the consistency throughout the year, right? Now, it is true that there are those who specialize early on, and when that season's done, they're going right into off-season training, so that movement and the exercise is still playing in. Albeit that movement and exercise and all is different levels and different degrees, but regardless, if you are involved in a sport, you are beginning to get in the habit of regular exercise and movement, and that is very powerful in helping you deal with stress. There's another aspect of sports besides the physical exercise that can be very helpful for teenagers in dealing with stress, and that is structure. When you know that there's practice games on a regular basis, and then you have in-season, out-season work, what have you. That structure, that discipline helps to declutter your mind somewhat, because you know it's predictable, right? And we like predictability. So that is one aspect of being involved in a sports team, or school athletics or club athletics, anything that's organized like that, that provides a real benefit. It's the knowing, it's the regular structure, the regular routine of it all. It's comforting in many ways. So one of the things growing up from middle school on, and even before middle school, I was always doing sports, but beginning in middle school became more organized even through school. So knowing that every day, all through the school year, I was going to be playing soccer, skiing in the wintertime, playing baseball in the spring. It was something comfort. I did that every single year for 7 straight years. Now, in elementary school, I did other things, other sports, but it wasn't quite as structured because, the club, going family, skiing, and just different things. But by the time I hit 6th grade, it became team oriented, all 3 sports every day, regularly throughout the school year. There was, it was wonderful having that structure, that regular routine, the habit. So there's another area that I'm going to take both sides of the coin that we talk about, and that's the emotional release. So exercise, that regular physical activity, can help you release emotions. There is another side to that coin, though, and we'll pick up a little bit more about this in a moment, but it is the fact that competition can potentially create stress, right? So there's this kind of catch-22 here. On the one hand, the regular exercise can help you release stress. On the other hand, the pressures of competing can add to stress. Now, I will say this, both from my own personal experience and experience as a coach, is that the stress, uh, competition stress, is almost always manifested prior to the competition. It's what you are thinking about before the competition. It's what you're imagining is going to happen the night before, etc. It's the what you're imagining is going to happen when you're in a slump, losing a scholarship. It's all of these things that are happening outside of the physical activity aspect of the sport. For example, I started at a young age, I developed something called neurodermatitis. I would scratch my knee, began to develop a rash. So I was highly competitive young kid, right? Hated to lose, still don't like losing, learned to manage it better, but I still don't like losing. And it first began to appear like Little League baseball. I was pretty good and wanted to win and all that. So when I was sitting on a bench waiting for my turn to hit, coming in from the field, what have you, I would like start to scratch my knee. As soon as I was out on the field playing at bat, I didn't feel any itch whatsoever. It wasn't there. So that physical activity, physically being involved in the game and competition, it went away. As soon as I kind of got back to the bench and could begin to think about the situation, boom, the stress, the nervousness began to play in. Right? It took me years for that to go away, and I never really learned at that age how to deal with the stress. The level of competition changed when I got older, so it kind of went away by itself. But that's kind of what we're talking about here with this emotionality. The physical activity helps you release it, but we also need to recognize that competition has a potential for adding stress. So we want to be aware of how to deal with that as well. So another area that sports can really help is a sense of belonging. When you're part of a team and you're connected to that team, that feels good and you don't feel stress. Now, if you're on a team but you aren't connected, then that could create problems, right? So it's up to kind of the coaches really to help develop this culture of really welcoming kids in. So again, I'm going to go back to my Little League days when this boy had moved into the town. He actually ended up going to our church. So my family befriended their family, and I got introduced to him. And he was 9 years old. I was 12. He was on my Little League team. I was one of the leaders of the team. To this day, I didn't realize what I was doing then, but years later, his mom told me that what I did for him then changed the direction of his life when he was there, new to this town. And he had been kind of picked on. He had moved from St. Louis up to Maine, little, different accent, different things, and kids can be mean. And they were teasing him, picking on him. And I put a stop to it. I didn't remember doing it at the time, and no idea. I said, knock it off. Give the kid a break. Give him a chance. He began to feel part of the group then. We welcomed him in. By the time he was 12, he was an all-star on that team, playing All-Star Little League. And it changed everything about his whole experience with sports and school and everything else. So that power of belonging is important. And it begins with a culture, with coaches and the team setting up, but players welcoming, helping those people feel like they're part of it. So if you want to really help your teenager deal with stress, getting them involved in sports, great, fantastic. Help them learn to deal with the stress that is potential from the competition of sports and how to really maybe connect with teammates and build relationships, those social emotional kind of skills. It's centered around mindset. I say it all the time, but the beliefs that you help instill in your child about themselves, about their own self-confidence, about who they are, that projects outward. When you begin to instill some powerful leadership values that are centered around thinking about the other people and having their back and all these things that make great teammates, all those skills are mindset related. You begin training at a young age, and it's much easier for them to then be accepted, deal with the stress of competition, and reach their full potential. Well, that wraps up yet another video. And as a coach and a lover of sports, real important, I think, to try to get kids involved in athletics at an early age. It can it can be just about any sport, but get them active, physically involved in team sports. It has so many different benefits. As always, I encourage you to subscribe to the channel, check out the other videos. In particular, you might want to check out the video on how social workers can help teenagers deal with stress. So let's check out that video today and come back, and I'll see you in another.